I get paid an excessive amount to deliver excessively priced appliances to the extremely excessively well-funded occupants of Lake Tahoe. Like 90% of the job is just going on an amazing drive. Firefighter. We are paid for what we potentially have to do, not for what we do when we show up to work. On top of that, I can retire with a pension at 50 years old, and we work a schedule where every day you come to work it's your Friday. Proofreader. I basically just make our company's stuff look like it was written by someone who paid attention in English class. I used to do the same thing, but I didn't get paid enough to do it. Ridiculous deadlines. Everything was always getting blown way out of proportion. Lower pay. Constant overtime due to intentional understaffing. I do way less work and get paid more now, and everyone is much chiller about the process. Holy shit. Lots of people are suddenly very interested in what is probably the single most boring facet of my life. Thank you for the attention. I've gotten a lot of inquiries about hiring me to do proofreading, editing. And, while I'm flattered, I'm not interested in any freelancing on the side right now. There are a lot of people responding to my comment interested in getting into proofreading. So those of you who want to hire a proofreader, reach out to someone who wants to be a proofreader. Lastly, as long as I've got a soapbox, I just want to encourage everyone to take some time in your day. Every day. And love yourself. Parks and Rec manager. I watch sports for a living. My husband is an overnight security guard at a ranch in a small town. He gets paid $17.50 an hour. He sits in the car and makes sure no one comes on the property overnight. Only one time he's had an incident. And it was a drunk driver that drove through the front fence. The pasture. Then through the back fence and then got stuck. He called the police and they handled it. He's worked there for several years. It's an easy job. Which is nice because he has some health issues. I own a septic tank maintenance and pumping company. And yes, I do get paid enough for your shit. Trash man here. I literally deal with people's shit. I get paid enough. 10 years in and $80K plus a year. More this year because COVID-19 overtime. Production operator. I have really good pay for working an all-right shift and am damn happy with my job as I have zero education after high school and have worked a lot of shit jobs. Had a babysitting job during university. I showed about 2 hours before bedtime and we had a snack and I checked if they needed any help with homework and then we watched some TV. They went to bed at 8:30 and the parent came home around 6 in the morning. This was 2 nights a week and the pay was good. I spent the time either studying or just watching movies all night. Receptionist. I get paid $20 an hour to scroll through Reddit. Once a day or so. I need to have someone fill out a form. It makes for long days. But I'm doing classes to finish my undergrad on paid time. So it's all good. Help desk for 20 years. I remember all the jobs before that where I said, I don't get paid enough to deal with this shit. Farmer. CRM. Fast food. Video store clerk. 7-Eleven clerk. Call center. Although I kind of liked the graves at 7-Eleven. Laughing face. In a different vein than most of the comments. I'm a nanny for a very well-off couple who are convinced their 2 boys are terribly behaved despite me constantly saying they're great kids. There is literal shit to deal with and they for sure have their issues. Not enough time to play or hang out with their parents doesn't help. But I get paid an outrageous wage to basically be a third parent to 2 cute kids. Recently went down to only 20 hours a week during school and make plenty to pay all my bills, rent and save a little. People who choose to do this their whole lives aren't doing so for lack of something better or whatever you might think. Sometimes this is a very competitive career choice. Removed a redundant word edit too. Thank you for my first awards. Residential appraiser. Pick my own hours and get $400 per report. Work isn't hard. Takes me about 5 hours. Everyone leaves me alone by design to not influence my value. Pretty sweet. 8 years ago my ex-wife walked out on me because we lived paycheck to paycheck after being medically discharged from the military. Was suffering from severe PTSD. Was diagnosed with liver cancer that same week. I was highly considering suicide. Once my ex-wife left, I got treated for cancer and went into remission. Meanwhile I was doing truck driving training and going to therapy. I began truck driving cross-country in the US. It was so liberating and never deal with bosses or people really. I get a message like a text where to pick up and where to deliver with the pay rate and appointment times. As long as I'm on time I don't hear from anybody at work. That's the best part. My current wife was tired of me being gone so much and she was tired of her dead office job. She asked if I would want her as my co-driver. I was skeptical if she would want to be on the road with me 24/7. She put herself through truck driving school and we began driving together. I've never felt so happy and complete in life. We've been driving together for 3 years now. We bought our own truck and live very comfortable. We take $120K a year each. I'm only 32 and plan on retiring at 40. Throw away for job safety. I'm a senior financial analyst in a manufacturing plant. My plant is very busy, making products that have seen tremendous demand increase since COVID hit. When COVID hit, they sent all of finance to work from home to minimize exposure. And we're still telecommuting. My workload has fallen off the table as I've made improvements to shortcuts and macros to do my work. My 40-ish hour job now takes me 20. The rest of the time I just wiggle my mouse browsing Reddit, YouTube, etc. I pick up groceries, run errands and appointments, and other leisurely activities during my work day. And I'm convinced nobody has a clue. I'm salaried and am pulling in north of 100K. The kicker is everyone loves me and talks about all the great reports I run and processes I own. So when someone asks me to do something, I happily do it. I've got plenty of free time. And definitely do get paid for that. Used to hand out free samples for $10 per hour when minimum was $7.50. I got to cook and joke around with people all day long. Hardly anyone gets mad at the person giving them free food, even if they don't like it. I loved that job. I'm in Arkansas. Minimum is $9.25 here. Cost of living is low and there's lots of tourism and jobs. UPS driver. Hit top rate at 4 years, bring in approximately $100K on 46 hours a week. Poker dealer. I don't really do much. Basically just play middleman so people can play their game without concern. If there's any real issue I am supposed to just call a supervisor and let them handle it. I put up with plenty of bullshit but it's not that bad. I didn't not expect so many questions. I've talked about my experiences a lot on Reddit but never got to this point, haha. I tried to respond to every comment and question that was made. If I missed yours I apologize. Not me but my close friend is a VIP experience tester for a large hotel chain. He shows up and they roll out the red carpet. He stays in the nicest suite and makes constant requests for champagne, food, car services, dry cleaning, etc. and takes note of the speed and level of service. I asked him if it was a difficult job and he sincerely told me, sometimes it's hard to spend the dollar amount I am supposed to spend in 2 days. I throw out a lot of food and alcohol. Of course it's all comp so he isn't actually spending any money. But he is expected to give the hotel 3 to 5K of action during his short stay. On top of this he gets a fair salary but any payment for that kind of work is worth it in my opinion. I work in a preschool. Never thought I would like working with kids. But I actually look forward to the days that I have work. Those little shits found a way into my heart. I work in the fitness industry. For the most part, the pay sucks and most people burn out quick and switch careers. I lucked out and got a coordinator job for a municipal event government. I oversee several facilities and provide training and presentations for select groups police. fire, paramedics etc. I make six figures and it's pretty much a cakewalk. I'm very aware of how lucky I am. I have a master's degree and about 15 years experience, but I was just about to switch careers before I got this job. Engineer. I do mechanical designs of heat exchanger products. Chill in my own office and listen to music or podcasts all day while I'm doing layout drawings. Making bill of materials or running design software calculations. I get about $90K a year plus usually a nice profit bonus, which goes a long way where I live. Okay. Someone else commented asking us to list how long we have been at these jobs. This was my first job out of college and I have been here 5 years now. Great thread. Interesting mix of blue-collar and white-collar gigs. I could read this all day. I work for the government and I'm way overpaid for what I do. Honestly. There were people at my last job that made like $120K to scan documents all day. Another guy the first worked with wrote dates on file folders and made the same. Contracting officer buying stuff for the DoD. 100% telework even without COVID. 6 figures. Pension. Benefits. Job security. Job itself sucks. But I've had worse. No college. Shaky resume because I was picky and fickle in my 20s. I was starving in an apartment I could barely afford and asked the waithouse manager, who was paying me $14 an hour after 2 years, for a $1 raise so I had $30 for groceries every week. He said no. I hopped on Craigslist from my desk at work, after a rigorous series of 3 interviews. I was hired by a family-owned and run drug testing facility. I watch people pee who have been arrested or have CPS up their ass under a contract with the courthouse. Every 8-hour shift. I watch about 10 people pee and send emails from an air-conditioned office space. It started at $16 and I got a $1 raise every 5 months. 2 years in. I make $20 to do an absolute cushy job. I do not starve. I moved to the city. I bought my first vehicle with no co-signers. My whole life has turned around. A few months back. They put me in charge of the satellite office. I work with one female and the 2 of us do everything by ourselves. When the owner's parents retire fully, they already work for home and currently act as my trainer's boss on behalf of their daughter. I will end up making $25 to be the manager of this office. After 15 years of working shit jobs in food and warehouses. I actually know how lucky I got and I don't wake up miserable about going to work. I definitely get paid enough for the 1 or 2 cheaters a month who get rude with me. I'm not in customer service. The clients/money and payments are legally required to attend their appointments with me, so there's no real risk of not making enough to keep running. My job is the best thing that's happened to me. I feel a true sense of freedom in my personal life. I save between $300 to $500 every month. I eat anywhere I want anytime I want. I am a single man with no obligations to anyone but me. It's great. Drive tractor trailers. Pays amazing, but it can be exhausting and mind-numbing. Also can be terrifying depending on the weather conditions, but it only costs $5 grand from the school I went to. To get my CDL. Gotta deal with the dots sometimes, and sleeping in your truck 6 days a week sucks being away from home, but it's got a lot of benefits to it. Like, I think I'm smart now 'cause I have listened to every podcast that has ever existed. Hospital spokesman. I get paid 6 figures to come up with the words to make bad things sound better. But most days. There isn't something bad to make sound better. Most days. It's more about event planning. Most days. It's me telling people, come to this place at this time and sit quietly while I talk. And I will literally give you cake. I get paid over $100K per year to tell people where the cake will be. Anesthesiologist. Get to put people to sleep. It almost always goes well and the people are thankful. Rarely it does not go well and can get very scary very fast. We're fairly well compensated compared to other specialties. My dad is a clam farmer. He basically spends his days diving or fishing and maybe every 2 weeks has to actually work, but only for a couple of hours. He lives on a tropical island. Tax and duty free. And drinks a lot of rum. He could earn a lot more than he does, which is still a tasty amount, but then he'd have to do more, so he's happy as he is. Software engineer. Sometimes you have to deal with shit breaking at inconvenient times for random reasons. But it's a pretty great deal all considered. Administrative assistant. Stay at it long enough and it can be a 6-figure gig in a major city. Supporting a SR exec. Infinitely portable. The job is pretty much the same in tech. Finance. Whatever. Every company needs them. Virtually recession-proof. Execs ain't gonna run their own calendars. Email. Expenses. Travel. Etc. Almost always has good benefits. While there are always exceptions. It's typically a very 9-to-5 job that isn't overly stressful or demanding. I was an employee at a top-tier firm, think Goldman Sachs. McKinsey. Google, and was legitimately depressed because of how brutal it was. Quit, and now I coach people on how to get into those firms, i.e. interview prep, etc. Earn 5x my previous hourly. And I actually enjoy it. So ironic but amazing. In anticipation of potential judgment, I would 100% go back in time and do the job again for the opportunities and training it provided. It's the best experience I never want to have again, and I always warn my students that it's an extremely tough job and they should be sure that they want to rise to the top enough to have no work-life balance. If I get called after hours or on weekends, I get to bill $300 per hour. I'm an enterprise massive corporation software support tech. So yeah, I might have to wake up on Saturday morning at 2 a.m. But I just hear the cash register sound and get right to it. I'm a union electrician. Depending on the local, it's possible to make really good money with no more than a high school education. People talk like construction is hard work. And it is. But it doesn't have to be backbreaking. There are machines to do most of the really heavy lifting these days. I'm an average-sized, almost 40-year-old woman, and I have no problem keeping up. Honestly, the hardest part of my day is getting to bed at a decent hour. Construction jobs start early. Park ranger. $32K a year. The pay is almost worth it most of the year. There's part of the year where the schedule has me getting up at 3 a.m. for 6 weeks. Those days I feel like the pay ain't enough. I work in procurement for the feds. Decent healthcare. Great retirement benefits. Decent salary. True 40-hour work week, and a culture that actually lets you take the vacation time you're entitled to. There's bullshit I hate dealing with. But overall I think my employer actually gives a shit about me. Every place I've worked in the private sector I feel like a glorified piece of equipment. This is actually the most wholesome thread I've seen all day. Yes, it's people bragging about how they somehow have it easy in some part of their life. They all seem to be doing it so nicely, and it's just got a happy vibe. Lawyer. First. There are many lawyers who do not even clear 100K. So this is absolutely not true for all of us. But for many of us. We are earning well over 200 plus a year to type at a desk. Go on site inspections. Take depositions. And present arguments to a court. There are many type A personalities in my profession, but if you keep a Zen-like mentality you learn to laugh at people threatening to sanction you for enforcing rules and such. Plus. As long as you are completely honest with your clients. Then if things go south, most will not hold you at fault. Builder. Well paid, and as a bonus it's very physical. I make $45,000 per year to help people stay off the streets. We house the homeless and then just try to help them rise out of the mentality. I love on people all day long. Every single person I work with is amazing. My bosses are so flexible and we're not micromanaged a bit. Oh, and I have no college education. And I've been to prison. I'm so blessed. Special ed teacher for students with emotional and behavioral disabilities in a high-paying public school. I love my job. I love my kids. I feel like I actually make an impact. I get paid 6 figures. I have summers off and lots of breaks, and I can leave at 3:05 when I need to. Deleted. Appliance repair. Most of the time the hardest part is getting customers to fuck off while I'm working. But clearing average 200 per job and approximately 7 jobs a day is pretty nice. High school shop teacher in Canada. $51K a year. In 8 years and with a bed I'll be close to $80K, but here's the thing. Before that, I was a mechanic. $42K a year. Working in the blistering heat. Freezing cold. Slush down the back while I'm changing oil. Sore hands, knees. Tired AF at the end of each day, so I think that I just really appreciate the job I have. Can kids be frustrating? Fuck yes. Can administration be a pain in the ass? Unquestionably. Do I have to do work on my own time? Yup. Do I miss swearing at whatever object is currently pissing me off? More than words can describe. But every time I deal with one of those situations, I think of where I was before, and all of a sudden it's okay. Computer programmer. Nobody bothers me. It's indoor work. No heavy lifting. Plus, it's interesting. It's like solving crosswords or Sudoku all the time. I make about $250,000 in a good year. Dog walking. I get paid $27 per hour to walk around the neighborhood and literally pick up shit. It's fantastic and I wouldn't want another job. This will get buried, but I produce interactive workout videos all over the world. My second week on the job I was in a boat following some Olympic athletes from the GB rowing team down the Thames River in England on a gorgeous fall day, and I just thought to myself, I'm getting paid to do this. In 2 years I've been to 10 countries and my work helps people feel better and get healthier. I'm so lucky. I'm a journeyman plumber with an above-average wage in my area. So the answer to your question is quite literal. I can spelling. Edit too. My first award. Thanks a lot. I'm a bartender. The gig I have is amazing. 99% of the time I'll work my ass off to make your experience the best. I really love my job and I make killer money doing it. I am retired. And it is an excellent job. I sit around doing whatever the fuck I want and get paid for it. Reading this just made me hate my job more. Not my job. But geologists. I know of a few that make insane amounts of money helping resource companies explore for minerals, and they all seem to love their work. I'm a railcar switchman. Which is basically telling the engineer how many more car lengths the train needs to move. So I count down from like 22, that'll do. We get a lot of downtime, so sometimes we're sitting down waiting for like 2 to 3 hours or sometimes all day, which is great. So apart from it being shift work rotating days and night, DuPont schedule specifically, I get paid way too much for what I do. I was a GS-15 Chief of Staff at the Pentagon until I took an early retirement because, I'm tired of this shit. Now I do humanitarian work around the world for about the same pay. My team performs a lot of rescues of victims being trafficked. It is very rewarding work. I get paid too much for what I do. Emo. I'm an accounting clerk and all I do is accounts payables. In other words, I register the company's bills. A kid in high school can do my job. But they asked for a bachelor degree in accounting. Wine sales rep. It's relatively easy and not a ton of actual work. Maybe 25 hours per week. Lots of free wine. Trips to cool places. Bonuses and good pay. Plus, the free wine is worth mentioning twice. Very flexible schedule which has been helpful with COVID. Finance in a big multinational corporation, over 6 figs a year not including pension. Stock. Bonus etc. Work 1 to 2 hours during slow days most of the time and 4 to 5 hours during busy days a few weeks a year. Big core allows for a lot of downtime since there is so much bloat, but most people generally lie about how much they are actually working. Editor, writer, proofreader. I suspect a lot of Redditors secretly want my job, as they're doing it all for free here. I love the job except for how insanely busy it's been this year. Getting paid to come up with a list of names for a product or show is awesomely fun too. I once wrote game cards for a board game. A shame the game looks pretty dumb. I housekeep and dog walk for a household up the road. It's literally just all stuff I do at home. For free. Except I get paid for it. My bud welds underwater in full scuba gear. 6 figures for a job where you can't go a year without almost dying and could kill you over time anyway. Sounds like paid enough for this shit he deals with. Had to help retrieve a body once. I made $163,000 last year maintaining private tropical islands. I'm a scientist. I sit in a sofa thinking deep thought and fiddling with my computer. At work. And at home. Except currently only at home. Sometimes I don't know if I'm working or playing. Security guard in a mall. 99.9% of my time is fucking around on my phone and watching camera. But the 0.1% of the time something happens I am ready. It's why they pay me. It might be throwing someone out. It might be stabilizing someone who hurt himself. Someone need to be there for that because bystander just ignore, don't know what to do. Fireman on the East Coast. No college education. No experience. No volunteer time. I've been making 6 figures since I was 20 years old. I have the greatest job in the world. I get to hang out with my best friends for 24 hours 2 days a week. Yeah, we have to work hard sometimes. But even working hard is fun, in a sense. Don't get me wrong. It's really hard to see people on what could be the worst day of their life. You carry a lot of emotional baggage from the shit you see. But I get paid entirely too much for what I do. I can retire at 44 with a great pension. Can't beat it. Manager in a brewery. I drink and just hang out all day. I would do it for free. I'm a plumber contractor. Some days I can make up to $3,000 in a day renovating a bathroom. Sometimes I make $1,800 in 1 or 2 days for doing flooring. Most I made in a month was around $20,000. I used it to take some time off and paid up all my bills for about 5 months and got drunk every day. Mostly though I make anywhere from $1,000. $2,000 a week. I just cashed a check for $3,200 for a week's worth of work. So not too bad I'd say. It is pretty disgusting sometimes being in crawl spaces though. I've seen dead animals in some of them. I was a pro singer before the pandemic started. Most of my gigs evaporated overnight. But I still do a lot of church stuff that's gotten way easier. Before. Get the music ahead of time. Learn it. Show up to rehearsal. Sing with the choir for 2 hours. Wake up for the service on Sunday morning. Sit through an hour service. Sing with the choir. Maybe sing a solo piece. Go home. Get paid $100 for 6 hours of practice. Rehearsal. Commuting. And performance. Now. Get the music. Sing through it a couple of times. Record myself. Upload it. Get paid $100 for an hour of work. This paradigm shift is the one thing I'm really gonna miss about this time. This is a front page post so no one will see my reply. But me. When COVID isn't happening. I get paid in the high 50s to work at a private school as an experiential educator. I take kids rafting on the river. Backpacking on mountains. Going camping in tents. Going on field trips to farms. Hiking through the snow. Go zip lining and rock climbing. And so on. I'm an experiential educator. I basically get paid to do all my hobbies but with 4th–7th grade kids. For some people sharing tents and cabins with a bunch of 11-year-olds sounds like hell. But I love showing kids how awesome the outdoors are. My favorite trip is caving with 7th graders. We spend 5 days going in and out of really cool caves. I help 12-year-olds scramble over boulders with only headlamps to light their way in the dark. They overcome their fears and squeeze through tight spaces and come out victorious on the other side. Then we pitch tent and eat food by campfire. Crash down. And scramble up rocks the next day to conquer a mountain. A lot of it is tedious social, emotional work as I coach kids to overcome their fears. But honestly, I love it. Adolescents that normally hate adults slam into me for hugs and give me high fives as they celebrate overcoming their fears. I get paid to be outdoors and having fun with tweens. It'd fucking awesome. Due to the pandemic. I'm teaching social studies this year. I got my bachelor's in political policy, which qualifies me to be a social studies teacher. It's not bad. But I miss being outdoors. I guess I should post some downsides to my job. You ever been 2 days into a 5-day trip? Had a 12-year-old girl get her first period. And panic desperately not knowing what to do, so she breaks down in tears and refuses to leave the shower house, but you can't go in because then you're an adult male going into the girl's shower house while a girl is in there telling everyone to go away. And because her asshat of parents didn't prepare her for this. After you finally get her to talk to you, you're stuck talking to a girl with ruined underwear about how to use a pad. I have to deal with that kind of bullshit multiple times a year. Still worth it to get paid money to go on kayaking trips. As a military helicopter pilot, you have to deal with a bunch of BS, but where else does someone toss you the keys to a multi-million-dollar aircraft and tell you, just bring it home in one piece, then pay you a solid salary on top of the thrill of flying 50 feet off the ground at 100 miles an hour? Dealing with a fucked up IT backup infrastructure. I'm a tattoo artist. And I average $150 to $200 per hour. Sometimes I make $1,800 a day. I earn more than my partner, who is a mechanical engineer. His benefits are far better than mine. But my job is fun. And hardly stressful. This thread makes me remember how bullshit life is. People are either cappin', or this is one of those instances where truth is proven to be stranger than fiction. Worked storage management for a while. Like any customer service job, there were issues, of course, but there were days I would come home and my GF would ask how my day went. I would tell her I changed one light bulb and sat on YouTube for 8 hours. Job didn't pay great, but it was a livable wage. Supervisor for temps. Temps in this context are criminals keeping their parole officers off their backs. Or druggies between highs. High school dropouts. People who generally don't make great choices. Lots of crazy shit happens. Ridiculously high turnover. Cops and EMTs show up regularly. I don't like the job. But it pays well. I'm a producer. Make a decent, middle-class salary, and my work is mostly engaging. Creative and sometimes really fun. I'll never make a huge salary, but that's okay to have a job that pays well enough and that I enjoy. I think I'm very lucky. Game dev. Basically, it has many advantages. I wake up whenever I want. I work whenever I want. Rest whenever I want. No boss. I am my own boss basically. And the money is not bad, even though I haven't hit the jackpot with a very successful game, and the cherry on top. It's what I wanted to do since childhood. My dream job. Road construction inspector in a northern Canadian territory. Starting pay $90K. Lots of overtime. Spectacular work locations. Per diems for out-of-town work. Union member with pension. Bankable overtime hours. New pickup each construction season. Yearly travel allowance, and probably more. My job is to take daily notes and make sure the contractor is following the contract. Account executive, sales, relationship management, basically in the mortgage industry. Hired on with no experience. No degree, and doubled my income from the year before. Then tripled that in my second year, multiple 6 figures. I'm making as much as a doctor with absolutely no debt to pay off. I get to work from home. Sitting at a computer 5 days a week 40 hours flat. I have 20-something calls a day where I remind somebody where to find something on the website and that's about it. Occasionally I deal with somebody difficult. But I remind myself. I do most certainly get paid enough for this shit. Janitor. They are desperate for reliable and stable workers, so when they find one, if you've been with them for a decent chunk of time, you can negotiate a pretty decent pay raise. Before all my medical issues I was getting paid $24.30 per hour, and the work, so long as you are not working at a school or public location or hospitals, is really not that bad. No worse than cleaning your own home, except you are getting paid for it. And unlike other jobs, they prefer you take it at a slow pace so they can charge extra hours to the company who hired us. Though I try to do things without delaying cause that just feels low to purposely work slow to charge them more when it can be done quicker. I'm a baker at a major university dining hall. I make cakes and muffins and Rice Krispie treats all from scratch. We also make cookies, but those tend to be frozen, place and bake. I bake for up to 1,200 portions of sweets per day, which is at around 20 full sheet pans of products. I'm full-time 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. My take-home pay is not super impressed, however I have something very rare if the food industry, a union. I'm a proud union worker who is guaranteed pay raise. I also have full health benefits including vision and dental. A 401k and a pension. However, pro or con depending on how you look at it, I'm a seasonal worker. I only work when school is in session. So I'm off for 3 weeks at Christmas, a week for spring break, 3 weeks in the beginning of summer, and 4 weeks late August to mid-September. I live thrifty and save my money, so I'm living quite comfortably right now. I have been at my job for 6 years and worked my way up from being a cafe attendant to a baker with only on-the-job training. Very happy with my workplace, and the kitchen is a very close group that always makes sure everyone sits and eats together so we can all chat. I work as an engineer for a communications company, and honestly you don't need an engineering degree to do what I do. But you get paid like an engineer. Upside down face edit, because I think this is important for other women to see. I just wanted to clarify that I am a woman. Aerospace engineer here. Very pleased with my salary. Data engineer. As long as the data is flowing, I pretty much come and go as I please. Data scientist. For 6 figures, all pretend to be pretty happy with most stuff. Air traffic controller. We like to moan about red tape and stupid rules and management and dumb pilots. But I think we all know it's an incredibly well-paying job for what we do. Most controllers are making over $100,000. Have great benefits. Early retirement. Long breaks. And most of the time it's fairly laid back. There are times where it's absolutely insane and things can get dangerous fast. So you have to be on your toes and ready to go from 0 to 100 in an instant. But most of the time it's just routine. Easy work with enormous consequences for screwing up, but yeah. The pay is totally worth it. Not me, but my late grandpa. He would armor cars for people. He did for 2 presidents as well. When I say him, I mean him and his team. But those 2 times for the president apparently gave him almost double what he got yearly. And he would tell me how easy it was. The client gets the car. You throw some Kevlar in there and some bulletproof glass and tires and you're good. Before anyone asks, he didn't work on JFK's. I think one was for Jimmy Carter. I have a model somewhere. I fly big drones for movies, TV. It feels like I get paid to play video games. But you just can't die in the game. Because it means you crash $100,000 plus worth of equipment in real life. Who knew there were so many millionaires using Reddit? I get paid $0. Which is very generous considering I am currently unemployed. Medical sales. The bullshit-to-money ratio is in my favor. Cybersecurity architect for SCADA networks that command and control satellites. No, I will not say which ones. I'm paid extremely well for what I do, an exceptionally far cry from my old life of being an Army airborne infantryman. Software engineer. I was horribly overpaid when I was working. I'm retired now. Another job for which I'm horribly overpaid. I always loved my job. Wastewater treatment plant operator. It's not as bad as it sounds. This is totally going to be buried in the comments, but I'm a physical therapist specializing in wound care. I work at a tertiary hospital and see incredible cases every day. I am very interested in the science of it, and it is amazingly satisfying to actually see people heal. My job is somewhat physical, but it helps keep me active, and the pay is pretty good. Benefits are great. And hours are basically 9 to 5. I have a great relationship with many of the surgeons at the hospital and am valued as part of the team. And 1 day a week I get to teach at the university on the medical campus. It's a good gig. I'm a flight attendant. You don't have to have any qualifications except a high school degree in customer service. The first few years the pay isn't too great, but you'll move right up the pay scale, and depending on how much you want to work, you could easily be making over $100,000. After dealing with people at work, you get your own quiet hotel room. Sometimes you stay in beautiful resorts. I'll forever feel like I won the lottery in getting my job. That being said, the industry is in free fall right now. And almost everybody below my seniority just lost their job. I work for a company that collects money from radio stations and distributes it to artists. It pays a decent amount since it's a government-affiliated organization. I have to match the radio play data to the data that the labels submit. AKA listening to music all day. Musical notes. Distribution channel manager. 90% remote even before COVID. Probably only 30 hours a week of real work. I stare at data that rarely needs correcting. And I have very smart people to do the correcting when it's needed. Honestly, I'm overpaid. But I spent 16 years in an ops management role that worked me to death, so I'm not feeling any guilt. Dental hygienist. 38 F9 years in my profession. Paid enough to buy my own house post-divorce. Government consultant. Been at it over a decade. Mid-six figures. Mostly telework. Basically just tell government how to fix easy problems because they only can hire people who don't know how to do it, and appointees are just focused on being figureheads for an agenda. And then half the time they don't have funding to actually do the thing you tell them, so you don't actually have to do much real work, and if you do then you delegate it to low-level employees out of college because those are the only rates they want to pay more than a few hours at a time for. Anyone else not even understand what half of these jobs are? Even after the people explain them? Hospital housekeeping director. Once had a patient take a dump on the sidewalk. I would never in a million years make my $10 per hour lobby cleaner pick that up and disinfect it. I did it myself because I made $95 per K. I'm a Lean Six Sigma specialist, process redesign, data facilitation, etc. And can routinely make $90 an hour on projects. I sincerely love what I do. And feel I'm compensated fairly for the sheer amount of money, labor hours I help save agencies through soft and/or hard savings. Added some words. Technician at a nuclear plant. There's a lot of red tape and procedural BS that you have to deal with. But as long as you follow the rules, it's a pretty laid-back job that pays entirely too much. We always say, we're paid for what we know, not what we do. I'm a pharmacist. I tell my techs that they don't get paid enough to deal with angry customers and that I'd prefer to deal with them. Really, though, it's the least I can do. My techs do so much for me. They handle difficult insurance claims. Make sure I know which customers are waiting. Start paperwork for clinical work before I know I have to do it. They really make my job easier and they make me look good. I love my techs and wish I could do more for them. I test for parasites in animal fecals and make $70,000. I'm pretty happy about it. My girlfriend likes to tell people I play with dog shit all day. Lol, but it pays well and it's rewarding. BC animals are getting healthy. I'm a project coordinator for a cancer research biotech company. I wrangle software engineers all day. Like herding cats. I was a telco lineman for the last few years before I retired. And it was great. I loved the work. The guys I worked with were cool. And the bosses didn't give us any crap. The money was pretty good too for a job where no degree is required. After 31 years in the company, I was making over $47 an hour. Plus awesome benefits, mind you. It was physically demanding. Dangerous work. But I really enjoyed it. I'm unemployed. I don't work. And I don't get paid. Seems pretty fair to me. Can you guys please mention how long you have been in the biz and how old you are? Thanks. I'm a government subcontractor earning $40 an hour. Since March I've worked from home because of COVID. My job consists of answering 1 to 2 emails a day, simply redirecting a person to a different individual who can actually answer their question. I've been able to watch every back episode of Good Mythical Morning, Dragon Ball Z, and Supernatural from my bed. As an introvert. The only downside is knowing that this idyllic scenario will one day end. Railroad conductor. There are days where it is hell. But those days are few compared to the 6-figure salary we pull in. Not to mention two amazing benefits. Support your unions, folks. The older trades that still have them are riding high, thankfully. VP of Corporate Strategy at a bank. I make slides in Excel mostly. I moderate social media. And the free therapy and high pay with bonuses really makes it worth seeing everyone try posting pornography to inappropriate sites. Soon I won't be doing the moderating itself though. Just managing and helping others do the job. Perks of tenure. I am a village defender. Not me, but my mom started working at a casino as a safety concierge, new position. All she does is wipe down machines and tell people to put their mask on. Gets paid $22.50 plus benefits and she gets 3 breaks. Also, she says a lot of the time they will send her to an elevator that she just stands there and presses the button when people come to use it. I work in production in a large brewery. The job itself doesn't pay super great, around $45,000 a year, but it's very easy. Most of the stuff is automated and we only really have to work when something breaks or goes wrong. Other than that, it's hanging out and testing beer samples all day long. Reading these top comments from people who think they are overpaid, and I gotta say most of them are not actually overpaid. They're paid a perfectly fine amount. We just live in an economy which exploits such a large percent of the workforce with starvation wages that normally compensated workers have been conditioned to think they're lucky and overpaid for the work they do. Investment banker. You make 6 figures out of college. Likely get more than $500K a year by the time you are 30. The downside is that you regularly work 80+ hour weeks until your mid-30s. And you're expected to always be available to work. It's more than a full-time job. You are always on call. Most people sacrifice their lives and hobbies for it and burn out. But I am in a happy relationship and still have time to play video games, play music, and read books. Unconventional take. But when I was in high school I had a really great serving job. It was a movie theater restaurant hybrid, think Alamo Drafthouse, so for a little more work. I was making $150+ on bad shifts. Good management that promoted from within. Outside managers that haven't had experience with this niche industry never do well, so they all knew the business. The management was also open to new suggestions about how to streamline the business. So I went into college with 2 great examples of how I helped fix problems. And I met a lot of people I'm still friends with today while working there. I am a security guard at a large bus terminal. I get paid almost $18 an hour and really don't have to do much. Just keep out people without a ticket and enforce the rules that are mostly related to, if you don't have a ticket GTFO, LF someone refuses or I feel a situation is beyond my pay grade one can request the transit police come to deal with it. With no pushback for calling for them. Senator but not POTUS. HS degree only always good with technology and math started at a call center 13 years ago. Figured out those places always needs support and a numbers guy. Self-taught in SQL. VBA. VBS RIPT. Some Java and C++. 160K base plus another 10 to 20K in bonuses. Healthcare is paid for. Not in Silicon Valley or Silicon Beach. Took the company I work for from doing all reporting by hand to building an ERP with tons of automation and integrations. I've made myself pretty irreplaceable. Not because I made shit janky, but I can find solutions and connect dots faster that most people lol. Every once in a while something breaks in the early AM or I get something that needs to be done ASAP. Other than that I work 3 to 5 hours a day.